Bone up. So, do you guys know about this brewery? This is one that's, yes, pretty much on the smaller end of breweries. Something that some people may be familiar with if they're local to the Boston area, but I don't think that they get too much distribution outside of Massachusetts. I could be wrong, so definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one of their tap handles. So, this is their signature logo. I don't know the details of it or whether that's supposed to be a skull, but it does have a very fancy mustache, which is really just wonderful. And here you'll see this design. So you've got that logo up top, and then you also have the name here. You'll notice that all of these appear to be wood burning. So there's most likely a wood burning stamp that was used for that, as well as these on the sides, which is really a great way of doing this. So if you do need to do your own tap handles, then you can kind of produce your own stock for the actual handle itself. Just do a little bit of work on it, or contact somebody that can do a little bit of work on it, and then you essentially just get a couple of wood burning embossing stamps or whatever they're called, and then you can just kind of quickly produce that. So it's not a bad way of doing it, and it's a nice little aesthetic. And so you'll notice here, Bone Up Brewing Company and Everett, Mass. So that's actually where the new casino is in the general Boston area. And I do love this, just made from ingredients. That's pretty freaking hilarious. So a couple of things to note with this tap handle. So you'll notice that it is kind of fully finished. They've actually rounded off the edges a little bit there on the top, as well as a little bit on the bottom. This is the type of tap handle that I would expect to just be hand produced. So that means that if you're looking at these, you'd expect a little bit of variation. So a lot of tap handles are hand produced. Some of them are done with more standard stock wood. So that means they're going to be a little bit more consistent. And then there's going to be other ones that are done a little bit more by hand, a little bit less kind of refined machining done on it. So that means that you'll see a little bit more variation for the tap handle. So that's what you would expect for a tap handle like this. So even though it may be in very, very good condition, so very similar to new, you may see variations in the tap. So this is a perfect example here, as well as over here. So that is something that you would expect even if the tap handle is considered to be like new. So I do want to point that out. And then here, I actually kind of like what you're seeing here, just because of the fact that it makes things a little bit more visible. So typically this would be sunk in a little bit more. It's totally okay if it's not. So you'll notice that here it's not. So you do have a little bit of this that's coming up, but you can clearly see that this is a threaded insert. So you've got the ones that drop right in that you would typically epoxy into place. This one, essentially what you're doing is you're drilling that hole and then you're putting in that threaded insert. Sometimes you'll do a little bit of pre-threading just to make it a little bit easier for it to go in. And they do have different types of threaded inserts depending upon whether or not you're using hardwood, softwood, etc. And if you're getting those inserts, so you can get them from various suppliers, and if you're producing them on your own, places like Rockler will sometimes have them. So that is a threaded insert there on the bottom. And this tap handle is Bone Up Brewing. So this is one that is a generic one, so it's not for a specific beer. So you just see this on tap for any of their beers, presumably.